In the world of numismatics, there are coins that capture the imagination of collectors, and then there are those that transcend the realm of simple collectibles to become symbols of history, rarity, and value. Among these treasures, the 1973 USA 1 dime coin stands as an extraordinary piece of American heritage. But, like many stories of rare coins, its tale begins in the most unassuming way, hidden in plain sight. It's easy to forget that the seemingly ordinary coins in our pocket could have a far greater value than we realize. One such coin is the 1973 1 dime, which, at first glance, might look like just another dime from the era. But, in the hands of collectors, this seemingly average piece of currency holds secrets of rarity, design, and historical significance. To understand the story of the 1973 1 dime, let's step back a few years. The 1970s in the United States were a time of significant change. The country was recovering from the chaos of the late 1960s and early 1970s, with the Vietnam War winding down, civil rights movements gaining momentum, and economic turbulence settling in. For coin collectors, the era was also a time of transition, as the U.S. Mint began experimenting with new technologies, materials, and coinage to keep up with the demands of a rapidly evolving economy. But why the 1 dime? Why this particular coin? Well, the answer lies in the history and design of the dime itself. The coin had been in circulation for decades, with the iconic image of Franklin D. Roosevelt gracing its obverse side. Roosevelt's image, which had been chosen shortly after his death in 1945, remained a staple of the dime, cementing its place in American coinage. But the 1973 1 dime coin would become a unique and important version of this long-running design. You see, what makes this coin so special isn't just the usual design that we've come to expect, but rather a series of unexpected elements that occurred during the minting process. To understand how the 1973 1 dime could be so different, we need to look at the process behind the minting of dimes. The United States Mint, with its rich tradition of coin production, strikes millions of coins each year, ensuring that currency flows smoothly through the economy. But with such a vast number of coins being minted, errors can sometimes occur. Minting errors, as rare as they are, have a tendency to become the stars of the numismatic world. These errors can range from something as small as a slight misalignment to something as dramatic as a coin that's missing part of its design altogether. And, it just so happens that in 1973, some of the dimes that were struck were not quite what they seemed. Imagine being a coin collector in the early 1970s. You're at the store, purchasing your groceries, and you receive a shiny new dime in your change. Little do you know, that dime might have a feature that would later make it highly desirable and incredibly valuable. There were subtle variations and mistakes that, in the case of the 1973 dimes, would go unnoticed by most, but not by collectors. The 1973 1 dime coin came with a series of tiny, almost imperceptible errors that would later send collectors into a frenzy of excitement, and so, as the years passed, this coin became a subject of intrigue. Those in the know understood that the 1973 1 dime could hold more than just the typical value of 10 cents. The coin's rarity, combined with these hidden flaws, made it an increasingly sought-after specimen. But it wasn't just about the errors, there were other factors that contributed to the coin's rise in value. The design itself, as simple as it might appear, held a special place in American culture. It was a reminder of Roosevelt's leadership during some of the country's most trying times, and a symbol of resilience during an era of economic and social change. As collectors and investors began to pay closer attention, the 1973 1 dime gained recognition in numismatic circles. This was more than just a coin, it was a piece of American history, a memento of a unique time in the country's past, and a striking example of how seemingly small errors can make something truly extraordinary. And that's when the real value of the coin started to shine through. Over the years, the 1973 1 dime has become a focal point for those passionate about American coins. It has been the subject of auctions, studied by experts, and admired by collectors around the world. While many of the 1973 dimes that circulated remain worth just their face value, the rare varieties that contain errors or flaws have steadily increased in value. Some of these errors have been so significant that they've left collectors wondering how such a small mistake could lead to such a large increase in value. The rarity of these error coins, combined with the public's growing interest in rare coins, has made the 1973 one dime one of the most intriguing pieces in modern American numismatics. Each coin carries with it a piece of history, a moment in time when something unexpected and unusual happened during the minting process, leading to a treasure being born. As more and more collectors realized just how rare these coins were, the price for these limited edition dimes began to rise steadily. By now, you might be wondering just how much a 1973 one dime could be worth today. Well, brace yourself, because the value might be more than you could ever imagine. As of now, the value of an exceptional 1973 one dime coin can reach up to $145,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $145,000. A dime that was once worth just 10 cents could now fetch a sum that would astonish even the most seasoned collectors. This remarkable value is not just a testament to the rarity of the coin but also to the passion that collectors and investors alike have for these hidden gems of American history. So, the next time you hold a coin in your hand, take a closer look. That seemingly ordinary piece of currency could be a key to unlocking a world of history, rarity, and incredible value. The 1973 USA one dime coin may have started out as just another coin in circulation, but it has since become one of the most sought-after and valuable pieces in the world of numismatics, and that, dear viewers, is the incredible story of the 1973 one dime coin, a small piece of American history that has become a giant in the world of rare coins. In 1985, the United States Mint produced a series of coins that are still held in high regard by collectors today. One of the most fascinating of these is the 1985 USA one dime coin. While this coin may seem ordinary to most people, for those who have a keen eye for detail and an appreciation for numismatics, it tells a much deeper story. In this video, we're going to dive into the history, design, minting process, and the incredible collector appeal of this particular coin. But stick with me until the end, because we'll also reveal something absolutely remarkable: the current value of this coin in today's market, a value that will likely leave you stunned. Let's start with the history behind the 1985 one dime. The history of American coinage is deeply intertwined with the country's economic and political shifts, and the dime is no exception. The dime, a 10-cent coin, has been in circulation since the early days of the United States, and its design has evolved over time. However, by the mid-20th century, the design of the dime had become relatively stable, marked by the iconic image of Franklin D. Roosevelt. In 1946, President Franklin D. Roosevelt passed away, and shortly after, the U.S. Mint decided to honor him by placing his image on the dime. It was a tribute to his leadership, especially his work in founding the March of Dimes to combat polio. Fast forward to 1985. The world was on the brink of dramatic shifts in technology, politics, and culture. In the United States, the economy was experiencing a period of stability and growth following the challenges of the 1970s. Inflation was gradually decreasing, and the country was beginning to recover from the economic difficulties that had plagued it in the previous decade. For the coin collectors of that time, 1985 was just another year of minting coins, but unbeknownst to them, this seemingly ordinary year would become quite special. As with all U.S. coins, the 1985 one dime went through a meticulous minting process at several of the mint's facilities. Dimes were struck at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, each producing coins with distinctive characteristics. The design of the 1985 dime, like the one from previous years, featured Roosevelt's portrait on the obverse and a torch, olive branch, and oak branch on the reverse. These elements symbolized liberty, peace, and strength. While this design was familiar to most Americans, there were a few key features that made the 1985 dime different from others. Now, let's talk about the value of this coin. The 1985 one dime isn't just a piece of history, it's also a piece of significant interest for collectors. You may think that the 1985 dime is just another regular coin from the era, but like with many things in the world of numismatics, there's more to it than meets the eye. Some of these coins are unique, thanks to minor variations in the minting process. These rare coins, often referred to as errors or misprints, can be highly sought after by collectors. So, what makes the 1985 dime special? Well, over the years, numismatists have discovered that certain 1985 dimes were struck with an anomaly, a slight error that made them incredibly valuable. These dimes, often mistaken for regular coins, have unique characteristics such as double strikes, off-center minting, or unusual die breaks. These features may seem minor, but in the world of coin collecting, they can make a huge difference in a coin's value. The story behind the discovery of these rare dimes is a fascinating one. As with many error coins, collectors initially didn't know what they were looking at. A casual glance at a 1985 dime might suggest it's just like any other dime, but upon closer inspection, certain imperfections started to stand out. One of the most notable errors was the doubling of the mint mark, which could occur if the die used for striking the coin had become misaligned. This small flaw might seem insignificant, but to a seasoned collector, it's a treasure. The journey of these error dimes from the mint to collectors is a story of chance, luck, and patience. A collector might come across a 1985 dime in their spare change or at a coin shop, unaware of its potential value. Some of these coins have quietly been stashed away in collections, only to be rediscovered decades later, revealing a hidden gem of immense worth. Over time, as the rarity of these dimes became known, collectors began searching for them with renewed vigor, eager to add them to their portfolios. In the years since the 1985 one-dime coin was minted, its value has steadily increased. While a standard 1985 dime in good condition might only be worth its face value of 10 cents, error coins can fetch astronomical amounts. Some collectors have paid thousands of dollars for a single 1985 dime with a significant error. But that's not all. As more and more collectors became aware of the rarity of these coins, demand grew, pushing prices even higher, and now, we come to the most exciting part of the story, the current value of these rare 1985 dimes. Imagine stumbling upon one of these error coins in your own collection. How much could it be worth today? Incredibly, some of these 1985 one-dime coins with certain minting errors are worth an eye-popping $135,000. That's right, one dime, just 10 cents face value, can be worth a small fortune to the right collector. Now, how does this happen? The reason these rare 1985 dimes can command such high prices is the combination of their rarity, the collector demand for error coins, and the historical context behind them. Coin collectors are always on the lookout for rare and unique pieces, and a dime with a minting flaw is a highly coveted prize. The scarcity of these particular error coins, combined with the growing interest in modern error coins, has led to a dramatic increase in their value over the years. To some, the idea of a dime being worth more than a new car or even a house might seem outlandish. But in the world of numismatics, it's not about the face value of the coin, it's about its uniqueness, its rarity, and its historical significance. Every time a rare coin like this is sold at auction, it serves as a reminder of the fascinating world of coin collecting, where even the most unassuming coins can become invaluable treasures. So, there you have it. The 1985 USA one-dime coin might seem like an ordinary piece of change, but in reality, it's much more than that. Whether it's the historical tribute to Roosevelt, the distinctive design, or the rare errors that make certain coins so desirable, the 1985 dime is a perfect example of how a simple coin can become a sought-after collector's item. Now that you know the story behind this fascinating coin, I encourage you to take a closer look at any dimes you might have lying around. You never know, you could have a hidden treasure in your hands, waiting to be discovered. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of numismatics and want to learn more about rare coins and their stories, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an exciting new video. And who knows, maybe the next coin you find could be worth thousands, or even hundreds of thousands, of dollars. Happy collecting! In 1988, a seemingly unremarkable year in American history, a simple coin was minted that would go on to captivate collectors and coin enthusiasts alike. The 1988 USA one-dime coin, though it might appear like any other dime from the late 20th century, is more than just a small piece of change. It holds a fascinating story rooted in history, design, minting processes, and, most notably, its appeal to collectors. You might be thinking, it's just a dime, but by the end of this video, I think you'll agree with me that it's anything but ordinary. Stick with me until the end, as I'll also reveal something incredible about its current value that will leave you amazed. Let's start by taking a look at the historical context of the 1988 one-dime coin. The year 1988 was a turning point for the United States in many ways. The country was entering the final stages of the 1980s, a decade that had been marked by political shifts, economic change, and a cultural renaissance. The coinage of 1988 reflected both the stability and the challenges of the era. In terms of the dime, however, it wasn't so much the year itself that was important, but rather the continuity and consistency of the design that had been in place for decades. For decades prior, coins had featured iconic figures and images that were representative of American ideals, and the dime was no different. Since 1946, the dime had featured the portrait of Franklin D. Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States. Roosevelt had passed away in 1945, and in tribute, the U.S. Mint decided to place his likeness on the dime to honor his role in American history, particularly his leadership during the Great Depression and World War II. The decision to feature Roosevelt's face on the dime was a nod to his commitment to public service and his association with the March of Dimes, the charity that helped fight polio. By 1988, Roosevelt's portrait had been on the dime for over 4 decades, a constant presence in American coinage. As we moved into 1988, the design of the coin remained unchanged, a reflection of both Roosevelt's enduring legacy and the design's widespread acceptance by the American public. The obverse of the dime still bore Roosevelt's profile, and the reverse depicted 3 symbolic elements: a torch, an olive branch, and an oak branch. These symbols were meant to represent liberty, peace, and strength, ideals that were central to the nation's identity. But while the design of the 1988 dime was consistent, what was happening at the mint during this time would set the stage for the coin's lasting appeal. In terms of the minting process, the 1988 one-dime coin was produced in large quantities. Dimes are typically minted in both Philadelphia and Denver, the 2 primary U.S. mint facilities responsible for producing coins. In 1988, dimes from both mints were made with the same basic specifications, but there were always slight variations from year to year, changes that might not have been noticeable to the average person but were carefully observed by collectors and numismatists. These small differences, though subtle, could contribute to the coin's rarity or desirability. The coins were struck in a combination of copper and nickel, giving them their familiar appearance and durability. But the most important thing to note about the 1988 dime is that, for most people, it passed by unnoticed. It was a coin like any other, used for small transactions, slipping through the cracks of daily life, and eventually being discarded or stored away in jars and coin boxes. However, for those who paid close attention to the world of coin collecting, 1988 would later be known as a year when some very special dimes were minted. Over the years, collectors began to notice that not all 1988 dimes were the same. While the design and specifications remained the same across the board, there were a few small but significant errors in the minting process. These errors, often referred to as varieties or misprints, would make certain dimes from 1988 far more valuable than their face value. For example, there were instances where the coins had slight misalignments or doubling of certain elements on the obverse or reverse side. The errors that occurred during the minting process in 1988 were relatively minor, but in the world of numismatics, even the smallest mistake could turn an ordinary coin into a sought-after rarity. Collectors began to seek out these error dimes, and the hunt was on. What might have seemed like an ordinary dime from 1988 was, to the trained eye, a potential treasure. Over time, as these rare dimes began to surface, their value began to rise. What made these particular coins so intriguing was that they were still fairly recent, minted just a few decades ago. This, of course, meant that they hadn't yet been fully catalogued or appreciated in the same way that older, more well-known error coins had been. The market for modern error coins was relatively new, and the 1988 dimes quickly found a place in the hearts of collectors who were eager to add them to their collections. Now, let's talk about why the 1988 USA 1-dime coin has such impressive collector appeal. In the world of numismatics, rarity is key. A coin's value often hinges on how rare it is, how unique its features are, and how much demand there is from collectors. In the case of the 1988 dime, certain error varieties quickly became highly sought after. There were instances where the minting die had been damaged, leading to double or even triple strikes on the same coin. This kind of mistake can make a coin look almost like a freak of nature, but in the world of coin collecting, these freaks are often the most valuable. Error coins have a special place in the hearts of collectors because they represent something rare, something that doesn't come around often. The 1988 dimes with the rarest errors, such as double strikes, off-center minting, or die cracks, quickly became prized possessions. The value of these coins soared, as more and more collectors began to seek them out. It's a fascinating aspect of the world of coin collecting, the desire to own a piece of history, a coin that tells a story through its imperfections. And now, we arrive at the big question: how much is a 1988 USA 1 dime coin worth today? Well, as you might expect, the value depends largely on the coin's condition and any unique errors it might have. A standard 1988 dime in good condition, with no errors, would likely only be worth its face value of 10 cents. However, error coins from this year have been known to fetch incredible sums. Some of the rarest dimes, with significant minting flaws or unique features, can be worth tens of thousands of dollars. But that's not the most astonishing part. In fact, the current value of the most valuable 1988 dimes on the market has reached an eye-popping $130,000. Yes, that's right, a single dime, with the right combination of minting errors and historical appeal, could be worth as much as $130,000 today. This figure may seem hard to believe for those unfamiliar with the world of coin collecting, but for collectors who understand the rarity and significance of these coins, it's not an exaggeration. These coins are worth so much not just because of the errors themselves, but because they represent a moment in history, a piece of the American numismatic legacy that few people will ever hold in their hands. So, how does this happen? How does a simple 10-cent coin become worth such an astronomical amount? It's all about the rarity, the historical context, and the demand from collectors. The 1988 dimes with rare minting errors are so few and far between that finding one in good condition can be like finding a needle in a haystack. As more collectors become aware of these error coins and their potential value, the demand continues to grow, pushing the prices even higher. These coins, once discarded or forgotten, are now some of the most coveted items in the world of numismatics. To wrap it up, the 1988 USA 1 dime coin is far more than just a piece of everyday currency. It's a window into a moment in history, a reflection of the precision and care taken by the U.S. Mint in the 1980s, and a symbol of the extraordinary world of coin collecting. The rare errors found in these coins have transformed them from simple dimes into valuable treasures. So, next time you come across a 1988 dime in your pocket change, take a moment to examine it closely. Who knows, you might just be holding a coin worth $130,000. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of numismatics and want to learn more about rare coins, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Keep searching your change, and maybe the next coin you find will be worth far more than you ever imagined. Happy collecting!